History has proven time and again that monsters in fairy tales are often inspired by real people. But none is as blood-curdling as this man who leaped from the darkest pages of history to become pop culture's most famous vampire. Centuries later, the literary world would introduce him to the globe as Dracula, but the truth was far more terrifying than vampire tales. Renowned for the unimaginable tortures he inflicted on his own people and his enemies, the most savage genius of psychological warfare, behold one of the bloodiest tyrants in history, Vlad the Impaler, also known as Vlad III. But how did this little prince who spent his childhood shoulder to shoulder with Mehmed the Conqueror in the Ottoman palaces turn into the greatest nightmare of a massive empire? In the shadow of castles, betrayal, and spilled blood. Now we enter the foggy and blood-scented forests of Wallachia. The year is 1442. Vlad's father, Vlad II Dracula, Prince of Wallachia, had to prove his loyalty to the Ottoman Empire. To do so, he applied the ruthless diplomatic rule of the era and sent his two young sons, Vlad and Radu, as hostages to the Edirne Palace. The rule was simple. If their father started a rebellion in Wallachia, the heads of these two children would instantly roll. Vlad spent his childhood and youth in the heart of the world's most powerful army, living with the constant fear of death. He learned swordsmanship, horseback riding, and most importantly, the flawless military tactics of the Ottomans directly from the masters. However, this captivity left unforgettable scars on his soul. He received the same education in the same palace with Mehmed II, the future world emperor, who was around his exact age. While his brother Radu adapted to the Ottoman culture and became a palace favorite, seeds of revenge and an unquenchable rage grew in Vlad's heart every passing day. He knew his enemy from the inside. After years of bloody exiles and intrigues, Vlad took the Wallachian throne in 1456. His country had become a plaything in the hands of corrupt nobles. While the people were decimated by poverty, crime rates had skyrocketed. Vlad's method of dispensing justice would be literally shocking. He did not look at the magnitude of the crime. He condemned the thief, the liar, and the rebel to the exact same horrifying end: impalement. This was not just an ordinary execution method, but a ruthless torture that slowly tore the body apart and lasted for days. Vlad used this method to establish a flawless empire of fear. It is said that he placed a golden cup at a fountain in the capital's most crowded square, and no one dared to steal that cup out of sheer terror. He did not forgive the nobles who had betrayed his father and older brother before him either. He had turned into a merciless demon who gathered them all at a grand Easter feast and impaled them all, along with their families, in a single night. As Vlad's power increased, his arrogance became boundless. He now refused to pay tribute to the most powerful man in the world, his childhood friend, Sultan Mehmed II. The conqueror sent envoys to bring him to heel and collect the taxes. However, Vlad demanded that the Ottoman envoys appearing before him remove their turbans. When the envoys refused this due to their religious and military traditions, Vlad gave that historic order. "Since you are so devoted to your traditions, let those turbans never come off your heads." The turbans of the envoys were nailed to their skulls with huge iron spikes. This was an open declaration of war to the Ottoman Empire and to the man who conquered Constantinople. While Mehmed gathered his army, Vlad did not stand idle. In June 1462, one of the most audacious operations history had ever seen took place. Vlad and his elite soldiers, dressed in Turkish uniforms, infiltrated the Ottoman camp in the pitch black of night. In this event, known as the night attack at Târgoviște, their target was directly the conqueror's tent. They couldn't find and kill the Sultan, but they planted a massive seed of panic in the heart of the Ottoman army and vanished into the darkness of the night.
Mehmed the Conqueror marched deep into Wallachia with his massive army to make him pay for this insolence. Vlad, on the other hand, did not have the strength to fight a pitched battle against this giant army. Just as he learned in his childhood, he had to strike the Ottomans with their own weapon: psychological terror. The Ottoman soldiers entering Wallachian territory were greeted not by enemy soldiers on the battlefield, but by a scene straight out of hell. As they approached the capital, the heavy, rotting stench of flesh in the air could be felt from miles away. The conqueror's massive army was forced to halt just as they were about to enter the city. Before them stood a massive forest of corpses. Regardless of whether they were men, women, children, or Ottoman captives, exactly 20,000 people were impaled for miles on end. This blood-curdling sight, swaying in the wind while crows feasted, completely shattered the psychology of even the bravest janissaries who feared no death on battlefields. Legend has it that facing this scene, the conqueror turned to his soldiers and said, "The country of a man who does such diabolical things cannot be conquered by armies," and was forced to withdraw his camp. Vlad, with his vastly outnumbered army, had plunged an unconquerable empire into sheer terror. However, this empire that Vlad built upon blood could not stand for long. The conqueror defeated him not by fighting, but by striking his weakest point. He supported Vlad's brother, Radu, who remained loyal to the Ottomans, placing him on the Wallachian throne with a large army. Even his own people and nobles were exhausted by Vlad's endless terror. They abandoned him and defected to Radu's side. Vlad was betrayed, fled, and rotted in dungeons for years. While trying to seize the throne one last time in 1476, he was killed in a dark forest. Whether he was betrayed by his own men or an Ottoman raider took his head is still not known for certain today. But one thing is certain: when he was killed, his head was severed and brought to Istanbul in a barrel filled with honey, right before Mehmed the Conqueror. His body, however, was thrown into a nameless, cold grave in Wallachia. This man, whose name was whispered with fear even years later, became immortalized as the blood-sucking Dracula legend. So, do you think Vlad the Impaler was a ruthless tactical genius defending his country, or the most bloodthirsty psychopath history has ever seen? Share your thoughts with me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to discover the unilluminated secrets and bloody tales of history.